Thank you for joining us at today's SOMOS Primer Cafecito. We are celebrating Latinx Heritage Month with a great interview with alum Christian Velez from Cano Coffee. I just want to remind everyone to keep their videos off and their microphones off during the duration of the interview. If you have any questions, you can add them into the chat feature, and we'll have some time after the interview to get those answered. So I just want to introduce Professor Stephanie Golob. Stephanie Golob is the Associate Professor of Political Science at Baruch College and the Director of the new Initiative for the Study of Latin America, ISLA, based at Baruch's Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Golob is also a member of the doctoral faculty in political science at the Graduate Center here at CUNY, where she previously served as Associate Director of the Ralph Bunche Institute for International Studies. And now just take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Alexandria. This is such a pleasure to be here. Buenos dias a todos. I want to thank the Office of Alumni Affairs and Volunteer Engagement for inviting me, and specifically for the SOMOS group. I am really delighted to be here with you this morning. On behalf of ISLA, we also would like to send a warm greeting and thank you to Mrs. Hedwig Veit. We are grateful for her generosity, and you know that ISLA is an initiative which is designed to bring faculty, students, and alumni together to celebrate and the study of Latin America, to which Hedy is very dedicated, and also dedicated to Baruch students. So we're very pleased to be here this morning with Christian Velez Cano. I want to let you know that I found out about Christian because I saw an article about him from, I think it was Univision, where they mentioned that he had been a Baruch alum. And it's always a delight to be able to see and hear about the success of Baruch alumni. So I want to, at the beginning of this conversation, also thank Daniela Toribio. She is the coordinator of student affairs at ISLA, and she was the one who came up with the idea of doing a Primer Cafecito, a first coffee, to welcome the first year and transfer students to Baruch. And Ali Jackson had the idea that we should have a Primer Cafecito for alumni for the SOMOS group. So we're really happy to be here this morning. Hope everybody has their cafe. I don't know how you like yours, but we all like it nice and strong. And we're going to start this conversation. Christian, welcome to our conversation. And I want to know, how do you like your coffee, and what do you like to do to brew your coffee in the morning?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. I drink my coffee, and I'm embarrassed to say, because every time my family and my cousin hears me say that, they're like, Christian, what are you doing? I like my coffee with milk and sugar. You know, El Tinto, typical in Colombia, how we drink it with milk, because I drink it throughout the whole day. And my method to making what I prefer is the greca, what we call it, is like the stovetop percolator. Mm-hmm. And I love to make it there because it's strong, and it's not too soft. It's like the perfect way to have it.
That's great. So I'm assuming you had a lot of coffee while you were a Baruch student. So I want to start our conversation off with going all the way back to the origins. It's like the superhero origin stories of the Cano Coffee Company. So tell us a little bit about how you got to Baruch, and then a bit about what you studied there and how it influenced how you founded your business.
Yeah, of course. Well, I served 4 years in the Air Force as a knowledge operations manager. And while I was over there, I always knew I wanted to come back to New York. And I always thought Baruch was so cool because one of my cousins had gone there. They told me about the business programs. And then I looked into it, and I decided to join their marketing program. And that's where I studied there for 4 years, graduated with a bachelor's. And I started in my senior year, Cano Coffee, in the library, like I mentioned before. And it was great because I had the opportunity to take the classes that I wanted to take to learn everything that I needed to know to bring the coffee from Colombia. And it was just perfect.
That's great. So tell me a bit about be a little bit more specific about the courses that you took, because as a professor, we're always gratified to know that actually what we teach is something that would be of use. And so you were a student in, your major was?
It was marketing management.
Mm-hmm.
And then two of the degrees that I actually used the most was my minors, which was international trade and digital graphics. With digital graphics, there was a lot of, we have a lot of group projects, mm-hmm. and we wanted to start doing a project in designing a product. That was one of the group projects. And I decided to design a coffee bag. And it all started with like, well, let's just do something because it would be great to start with this. And I started designing the coffee bag, and it got really good feedback from the classmates, from the professors. So I was like, well, this is pretty. Let's see what else happens. And then I started the international trade minor, and I started to learn about trading internationally and then I went to Colombia, where I also decided to start to import the coffee directly from Colombia because I was taking the international trade class. And while I was learning all of the international trade, I was doing the trade from Colombia. And I was asking the professor, how do I do this? What's happening over here? Because they're asking me for these documents. I'm coming along these things. So the professor at Baruch was very helpful with that. And then ultimately they both came together beautifully, and Cano was born.
I'm kind of imagining you. I'm imagining you sitting in the Newman Library. That you might have had the place where you would sit and think about what about this idea for a coffee company. So tell us a little bit about that experience of going to Colombia, right? So tell us a little bit about what is the coffee business, and what is there may seem to be many different parts to it. So talk us through it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know at first. I first, with my cousin, we were like, let's open a coffee shop, because it seems like it would be nice to open a coffee. People love coffee, and this is what they do. But then in one of our trips, we decided let's travel to Colombia and see what do they have over there. I mean, we have our family over there, we know, and there's farms, so let's go check it out. So we traveled to Colombia, and we went to this event where we would, it's like a conference for coffee. It's one of these, and we met so many people and so many coffee shops, but then we decided, let's go to our family farm. Our family has been growing coffee for 3 generations, small scale. It's very small, but let's go over there and check it out. When we got there, we thought, why don't we just bring this coffee to New York? I mean, we have it, it's here. And we started the process. We started talking to the grandparents. Hey, abuelos, how about we bring this coffee rather than you selling to the co-ops in Colombia? Let's us bring it together, and let's go check it out. And we'll treat you much better than what they do in the co-ops here in Colombia. We'll do a better way of doing business. And they were so into it. They saw the packaging, and then basically we started importing and doing all the documents, signing in, registering the business in Colombia, meeting people in Colombia, and making these close connections in order to go very smoothly, because in Colombia everything can be it can take time. So we had to adjust to the culture and the people in Colombia in order to have a very successful way to bring in the coffee into the U.S.
Terrific. Tell us a little bit about the region of Colombia where the coffee is grown, and also a little bit about this is a family business then, really all the way through from the product all the way up to the business here in New York.
Right. So it's in Huila, Colombia. That's about 4 hours southwest from Bogota. So over there, it's a lot of green, a lot of coffee. Colombia it's a cool country because it grows almost everything. It's very self-sustainable when it comes to growing and building all these things. So the family was selling coffee to the co-ops, but if in Colombia, what they do, they have a set price based on the market. So the farmers pick the coffee, and then they pay the the growers, they don't really get a lot of money. And coffee is like corn here, where they really manage it and they really control the price of it. And so it's a very humble business. So people are just always, and they buy no matter what type of coffee it is. So we decided that the best way to treat the family and the best way to start selling this coffee and grow our name was to actually bring our coffee, which was never an idea. I don't know why they never did it. It was never something. It's just something like they never wanted to bring the coffee themselves or even thought about it. And even my mother never wanted to be involved in the coffee business herself. So it was just, she forgot and she did something else.
So this is the Cano family, right? This is your mother's family that was in the coffee business then.
Exactly. But it's nothing that they didn't really want to deal with this. So we decided to start bringing the coffee ourselves from the family of coffee, which is there.
Right. That's an incredible story. So, and it seems to me that you said, and we were having a conversation earlier, that you come from a family of entrepreneurs. So tell us a little bit more about that aspect of your family, because it's not just the Cano family, but the Velez family, that there's this kind of spirit in your family.
Right. So it's funny. We are about seven brothers, and five brothers, 2 sisters. So we're 7 in total. And all of them, somehow they have their own business in importing and selling products, whatever they can find. My older brother, which I owe everything to him because I learned so much from him. He has a very successful business in selling spiritual products and candles and so forth. And it was with him actually when plays a big part, because a lot of the times where I would choose classes from Baruch, and with my other brothers, we would sit down around the table and I would ask them, hey, William, look, what do we need to learn? What don't you know that I need to learn so that we can apply it in not just my business, but also in your business? And what can you probably not teach me? And he would tell me, this one, we need this. We need to trademark a few names of our stuff. We need to, some property stuff. So we need to check it out and see how we're going to buy property in the future. So it was very fun to work with him and know what we needed to all
pooling your resources, and he could bring that experience, right? That he could bring the experience. You mentioned that you had the opportunity to travel with him. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience, your first time when you traveled with your brother for business?
Yes. So he was doing a lot of business in China, importing from over there. So in 2013, right when I was getting out of the Air Force, or a few months before getting out of the Air Force, I was like, I want to travel with you and see what can happen. What can I do over there? So I decided to travel to China with him. There's this trade festival in China in an area called Wanzhou. I hope I'm translating it right, but it's Wanzhou. And there's so much things to see over there. There's so many things to buy and bring and import, and just my eyes opened of so many opportunities. But there's so much information and so many things that you can buy that I was not in focus on what I really wanted to do. That didn't come along after I took the digital graphics class and I designed the bag, that I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back to China and import the bags from China so that we can have a package at a good price. And then that's how that came along. My first trip to China with my brother.
Yeah. So I'd like you to show everybody your coffee mug, because you have, yes.
Well, yeah, I have my coffee mug. Yeah. This is actually my favorite coffee mug. This is the one that my to-go cup is from my old squadron in the Air Force.
That's great. I was hoping that you would have a Cano coffee mug.
I do not. I don't have one with me of the Cano coffee with me. Those are to sell.
We're gonna have to put that. We're gonna have to put that website, your website, into the chat so that everybody will be able to go on your website and see your great merch. So yeah, I mean, having really the idea of that you are going to be importing the coffee from Colombia, but that there's so much more that goes into selling coffee, right? And there's also so many other things that you can do, right? In terms of selling so you need the bags for the coffee, but you also will then need the cups to in some ways to the merchandise that would go along with it too, as part of the marketing. And then that would come from China. That means that, you know, taking international marketing and taking these classes in international trade also helped you in that sense.
A great deal, because the operations of coffee, like you said, it has so many options. You can sell green beans, just that. If you can sell the coffee already prepared, you can deal with, and so many outlets. I mean, at first, like I said, we wanted to bring the coffee and have a coffee shop. That didn't happen. And then we wanted to focus on selling to office spaces and to maybe restaurants. And then the opportunity came where my cousin was, let's try the farmers markets. And then we started with 2 farmers markets. And that was nice. Then we moved to 6, 9, and now we're at 23 farmers markets, where we didn't think that was going to be that was never the focus. We never thought that it was going to go to selling to farmers markets. And it was actually office spaces. But then, you know, like everything in business, it just, we have to adapt and grab opportunity to wherever we see. So that was where opportunity came.
That's great. So in that sense, if we want to buy the coffee, we would go to a farmer's market. So what was it like the first time that you set that up? I mean, as you say, it was very different from what you had imagined in terms of the retail environment. So tell us a little bit about what that was like, and what neighborhood was it, and and how did that go?
Our first market was in Morningside Park. It was dreadful. It was, oh my God. I remember, and I remember thinking, what are we doing? It was raining so bad. It was outdoors because we're selling in the street, and we just didn't think, we didn't see any future in the farmers markets. And then it just started pouring and setting up.
Yeah.
But you know what was the good thing about the farmers market is the interaction. Because it's beautiful that you get to communicate with people and tell them the story firsthand and interact with them, talk to them, get to know them. And, you know, now the customers know us at the farmers markets. They know who we are. They come and they're like, hey, how's the farm doing? How is the coffee? When was this? And they get to learn firsthand from us. They get to know the family, and so that part of the farmers market is very nice. I really enjoyed that part.
That's great. But now you have 23. So that means you must have a lot of employees. Yes.
So it's 23, but they are distributed throughout the week. There's not 23 in a single day. So there's 1 on Tuesdays, 2 on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are more busy days, because that's always where the farmers markets are. And yeah, on Saturdays and Sundays, they could be up to 10 markets, and then we have a lot of people out and just running the markets for us.
That's exciting. Well, I guess the inevitable next question is, you are an entrepreneur who has faced this new environment, right? We are all in this moment where all of us are pivoting. I think that's the word that's often used to describe what we have to do. I see several of my Baruch colleagues who in here, and I see some students, and we all know that we all had to pivot to adapt to this new environment. So you have this business model, which is very much based upon travel to another country, in-person, face-to-face kind of marketing. So tell us a bit about what happened in March, sort of how you pivoted to this new environment.
Yeah, well, so the good thing about the farmers markets is that they are essential businesses, because it's food, you know. So it was one of the businesses that didn't get hit that hard. At the moment in March, we only had 9 farmers markets, and we were working with this relationship with these people, in who we only focus with one, the down to earth markets. And we started seeing that this is this is great. We just have to keep and just expand, which was something that we were not planning to do. We were actually planning to do the coffee shop, the roaster, something different.
Right.
But now it's the wrong time to do that. Now it's the wrong time to be. And we were like, well, let's go ahead and start expanding to other farmers markets. And then it just blew up to 23 farmers markets, and let's just train people. That was a little bit tricky because a tricky part in the farmers markets is getting people to work the markets. So that was, especially during the pandemic, because you want to make sure that they are protected and saved. So that was the aspect of the farmers markets and the retail when we had the interaction, but it was also very difficult in Colombia because Colombia was closed.
Right.
So it was very difficult to still bring the coffee from Colombia because it was hard to find people to pick the coffee. It was hard to transport from Huila to Bogota to have the coffee trillado. But ultimately, slow with our cousin in Colombia, we were able to do all of that, and a little bit harder, and just get along and try to be patient with the process, and it's working so far. So yeah,
that's great to know. And your family is all well. It's important to ask if everybody is doing all right during this time in Colombia. Because as you mentioned, I mean, there's a lockdown and there's a serious global pandemic we're talking about here. So
yeah, I think they're doing better than us. They have all green and just super, but it very taking care of themselves a lot, because the hospital in El Huila is very small, and it's not like something that it can maintain. If a lot of people in that region start getting sick, forget about it. It's not something that they can handle. It's not, they're not prepared for it. So, but thank God they're good.
Good.
That's happened. So
I'm glad to know that. That's great. So, so in some ways it's so interesting that in your business, you ended up expanding during this time as opposed to contracting, right? Because we have the stories of so many different people in their businesses needing to retrench or needing to rethink, and you had to rethink in some ways in a different way. So I wanted to ask, how do you see going forward in the future? What kinds of new ideas do you have for your business going forward?
Well, I would say here talking with my cousin and so forth, I think that the best way to do now is, one of the things that we don't manage of the whole coffee process is the roasting. We don't roast our coffee. We handle this for somebody else to do it for us, a third party, a master roaster to do it for us. And I think that would be a great new addition to the business, where we are able to manage that aspect of the business. So I think moving forward, that would be the next step. Roasting our coffee and having it even, we have it pretty fresh every week. It's roasted on Wednesdays, but we want to be able to handle that. And a coffee shop ultimately distribute the coffee from Colombia here in the US. That would be great, the green coffee. So there's so many things, so many ways that you can go in coffee. So that would be the future.
That's great. Well, we all have very high hopes that part of the future will be maybe having a little sucursal of Cano Coffee in the vertical campus. Would that be nice? A lot of us miss having a little place to get coffee in the VC. So that would be really excellent. So any advice for current Baruch students that are here? We have a couple of students on the call, and as an alum, they're interested in knowing. We know that the students are looking at the world the way it is. What advice could you give them about your experience at Baruch, but also how you see the future?
Well, my advice for the students at Baruch would definitely be to take advantage of the classes that they're going to take, and to pick based on what they are going to do, and to put it into practice immediately, so that one, they don't forget about it, and also so that they're not just I mean, it's a business school. So you want to put that part I don't, at least the part that I went to, the business cycling. So you want to make sure that you use that to do what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. And like myself, if I was taking an international trade class, I was traveling doing that international trade. If I was doing digital graphics, I was designing for the product of Cano. So that would be one of my advices, my main advices. And for the future, just move forward and look ahead and see, just keep a positive aspect. I know that business is very versatile, so things can change and things can happen. So always be able to adapt to new changes. And
speaking of which, we hear that you're a new parent, so congratulations.
Yeah, I have a 6-month-old, Christian. He was named after me. My wife wanted that name. I did not fight her in
it. Good idea. Yeah. So that's a new adventure.
That's a new adventure. It's great, drinking a lot of coffee.
Yes. You're in the right business.
Yes.
For that, yes.
Drinking so much coffee, and but he's been a blessing. He's been great, and it's so great to have him.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm looking, and we don't have any questions yet in the chat, but I want to encourage our viewing audience. We would love for you to join in now in our conversation with Christian and ask your questions about his business. Ali, I'll turn it over to you.
Yep, I actually have a question, Christian. Just knowing what you know now, what are some things you would have done differently when you started Cano Coffee?
What are some things that I would have done differently when I started Cano Coffee? I would say, the trade between Colombia and here to importing the coffee, that was very hard, and that was very difficult to import the coffee. So I would have done more research in Colombia on what are the procedures in order to export the coffee out of Colombia, because that has been challenging, and that has been something that I learned the hard way, that I needed to adapt to the way you do business in Colombia compared to the way that you do business in the US. Here, it seems like everything moves very quickly, and everything, they're willing to do business very quickly. In Colombia, on the other hand, it's more of a process of taking your time and waiting. So I would have done a little bit more research in that area.
Great. And, we just spoke about, how Baruch was instrumental in giving you the education you needed to start the business. But before Baruch, you were in the Air Force, correct? Right. So how did that shape how you approached your kind of business plan, or even how you approached studying at Baruch?
Well, the Air Force was definitely a structure for me. It really complete. I'm very thankful for it, because I learned so many things that I learned from the Air Force, like managing and putting things together in research, and being able to sit in front of a computer and find out information. And, before that, I was not very, I guess, a computer person. I was just more like going out on the street and talking. But once I joined the Air Force, this is such a powerful tool. They're doing some research and finding out and getting structure and planning. It was something that really shaped my future for the business, and just being self-accountable for things.
Great.
Yeah. There's a question that I received. Sorry to interrupt, but I have a question from Elaine Montilla, and she asks, what is the one thing you regret doing?
What is the one thing I regret doing? Let's see, one thing I regret doing. To be honest, there's so many things when it comes to the business aspect, because you realize, oh man, I should have done it this way. But I'm here thinking, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know if there's something that I really that I would say that I would have not done the same, because everything that I learned, even if it was a bad thing, I learned so much from it. You know. So I don't know if I have a really answer on something that I regret fully on. Everything was a learning experience.
Great. So at the farmers markets, have you made any partnerships with any other vendors like bakery or bakers or anything like that, just to kind of maximize the synergy and market Cano Coffee further?
Yeah, always. There's always like in the farmers markets, even the vendors is like a small little family. So we get to know each other pretty well and know the other vendors. And I would say with the liquor people, they always want to mix the coffee with and make some Irish coffee, and maybe have some deals. Like if they buy a bottle, they get like certain discounts from the coffee. If they buy coffee, they'll get a discount from the liquor. And not yet, but we're looking into hopefully using their barrels of liquor to, to make the coffee some kind of whiskey flavored. And so, yeah, that's one of the, I guess, in top of my head, one that I can think of.
Great. So let's talk about like the new trend of pod coffee. In our discussion previously, we kind of touched on how Cano Coffee has created the K-Cup pods. Can you talk more about that?
Oh yeah, those are very high on demand. The Keurig machines, they are very easy to use. They are very easy to, and they're very practical. But in my opinion, I would say it's one of the, to prepare coffee, since they're so practical, I feel like it's one of the worst ways to brew coffee, because coffee is just filtering through the water. It's just going through and into the cup. But people love it. It's a nice one because it's so easy just to like push a button and have your cup of coffee ready and right there at the moment, and you can just get rid, and there's no mess, because coffee can be messy too.
Right.
So the pot is very nice, I guess.
So just speaking about brewing, do you have any coffee brewing tips for our watchers today?
No, there's so many. Depends on which one you are doing. But I would have to say that if you're using the French press or the drip, one of the main things that I would say for brewing is to bloom the coffee first before pouring all of the water into it, because a lot of people make the mistake of just pouring the water into the coffee and not giving it that opportunity to expand the beans and to expand the flavors and everything. So before adding all of the water on the coffee grounds, if you're doing the French press or the drip coffee, just let it pour a little bit of water so you can fill up, let those flavors expand and that coffee expand.
Great. So just, I think we have just one more question here. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years?
I see myself in the next 5 years scaling the business probably into something where it's more bulk rather than retail. So more wholesale of maybe the coffee itself from the family farm, the green beans itself, rather than just per cup, or the coffee bags, the 12 ounce and 16 ounce bags. So I would say that's the plan for the next 5 years.
We have a question from Elena Martinez. And she asks, as a language professor, I would like to hear about your experience with Spanish and being able to communicate in Spanish in Colombia.
In Colombia. Well, it's when I speak to other Colombian people, I feel like, I am in the same page so we understand each other talking in Spanish, and I'm on the same page. But once I'm in Colombia, I realize how much I don't know the culture and their dialect, right? Because it's much different. They have not much different. I mean, I understand it, but they have sayings, which makes the language. I mean, that's the language. Depending where you are, I would say sayings, and it's what makes the way you speak. And so that was a little bit difficult. They would say something to me, and I was like, wait, hold up. I got to put these, let me construct this and put the pieces together to see exactly what you're telling me, because so that was one of the things that I had, but ultimately it was very simple, and we got to talk it, and that was it. Getting to meet the people was great, and getting to learn new ways of new sayings. It's really nice. So.
Just a few more. We have some more questions coming in through the chat. This one is, do you see any other trends coming soon in the coffee world?
Trends in the coffee world?
Mm-hmm. Like we said, the coffee pods are really hot right now. What were you seeing turning the corner for coffee?
For coffee, the coffee pods were a great idea. I'm not gonna lie; those were really good. But I would say anything that just makes things practical for the person. The single brew coffee and in New York, nothing that occupies too much space, because of and that it's easy to clean, easy to prepare. So the single serves, actually cold brew. Now that I'm thinking, cold brew is a huge trend in coffee. I can see prepared coffee already, like ready to drink in bottles. I think that's going to be a trend. Oat milk coffee with flavored coffee, and those are, I would say, a huge trend with coffee.
Yeah, an oat milk latte is delicious.
Oh yeah, there you see. Yeah. That's very new. Like, I mean, like the whole oat milk with like coffee and the drinks. So yeah.
So one more question here. Speaking to the aspiring entrepreneurs at Baruch, what specific resources at Baruch did you tap into?
The professors, and there was a program in the group studies for market research and so forth. I do not remember the name of it right now, but if you go to the library website, there is an area, or even the people in the library, they can tell you that there are some tools that are worth, I don't know how many thousands of dollars in order to use. But if you access them through the Baruch library, they're free for students. And it's where you do a lot of the market research. What are the trends? What is happening? There's a lot of, what are these called? There's a lot of questions that they ask people to, and they get like I cannot think
Survey?
of. Yes, a lot of surveys. Surveys showing on specific topics. And I was able to get so many surveys on coffee, so many on who drinks coffee, what are the preferred coffee, what is trending right now. All of that was there available for you. So I would say that one was one of the main tools that I used from the library. So yeah.
So just wrapping up here, Christian, let us know where we can find Cano Coffee, what farmers markets is it in, and how can we follow you on social media?
Okay, so the closest farmers market to Baruch is actually like, I don't know, maybe 10 blocks away. It's on 23rd and 9th. There's one right there on Chelsea every Saturday. It will end by December 23rd. That one will close, and then it'll open back again in the spring. There's also in Morningside Park, right there on 110th and Morningside Park. You can find it. And of course, if you live in the outsides in Westchester, Queens, you can go to the website and you'll see a list of all the farmers markets, where they are located and where you can find us throughout the week. And you can always follow us on Instagram, Facebook. I think those are the two ones that we maintain the most. Cano Coffee Company and you'll find us there, so you can stay up to date with some pictures and some markets.
Yeah, any upcoming news that you'll have to share. Christian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a great conversation. Coffee is a big part of our days. So we just want to thank you again for agreeing to speak with us and to be interviewed by Stephanie. And Professor Golob, thank you so much for being our interviewer today. You were amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ali, for this wonderful idea to bring us all together this morning. And wish you all the best of luck, Christian, and it's really inspirational. And we look forward to, I actually live near Morningside Park, so I'm going to have to come and check you out.
Yeah, you should. You should definitely.
At social distance.
Absolutely. Yes. Don't worry. They have measures. They have
the lines, yeah.
The lines and everything for you to be prepared. They don't let people touch products or anything, so they'll pick them for you. So it's very organized.
Terrific. I encourage everybody to go on the website we posted and to follow Cano Coffee Company on social media. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.